Bismillah. I'll just put the water here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa la'aqibatu lil muttaqeen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. We were going through the balanced approach in Iftā, and we looked at two approaches, right? The first approach, obviously the first approach is an extreme approach. And the reason it's an extreme strict approach, an extremely strict approach, which entails austerity and strictness. And we saw about 5 different reasons why a mufti might take that approach. Yes? And now today we'll be looking at the other side of the spectrum, that is the over-facilitation or obsession or obsessive focus on facilitation and ease. So sometimes it can drive a mufti to the other side of the spectrum, to extreme facilitation. Yes? So we were looking at extreme, on one side extreme strictness and extreme, that's last week, lecture 6 and 7. Yeah. Yes? We were looking at extreme strictness and austerity, and there are 5 different areas or reasons why a mufti might end up doing it. And one of them was also to do with temperament and so on and so forth. Yes? But today now we are looking at the other side of the spectrum of extremity, and that is obsession with over-facilitation and over-ease. Meaning try to be over-facilitating and over-easing the things. Yes? So a balanced approach is that approach. Siratul Mustaqim is that approach, which is right in the middle between 2 extremes. Is that clear? So moderation is that, obviously, because the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is moderate. Therefore, all fatwas have to be also of that type, that do not lean towards that side, neither to this side. So today we'll be looking at the second approach, and the second approach, a balanced approach in Iftā, sits between the 2 contrasting approach and extreme approaches. I've already mentioned that. The first approach, which was dealt with earlier, yes, in lecture 6 and 7, was that which was marked with unwarranted strictness and austerity. Unwarranted, yes. Often leading to unwanted discomfort, hardship and difficulty. While the second approach, which will be discussed here today, is characterized with over-leniency and which overemphasizes facilitation. So it takes you to extreme facilitation. Yes? Right. So in the second approach, obsessive focus on facilitation and ease, there are this approach manifests in 3 different areas. In 3 different areas, this approach is used, over facilitation. One is unregulated usage of maslaha, human interest, and sometimes to the extent that one goes against well-established Islamic legal texts. So sometimes based on human interest, Islamic legal text is saying that no, it should be this. Fatwa should be given on this. But he says, no. Human interest. Take human interest. Yeah? Human interest. It's going to benefit people. Well, Allah says it is haram. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about consumption of alcohol, Allah said that there are benefits in it. There are maslaha for people, isn't it? There is masalih and manafi, benefits and interest, but ithm, which is what? Madar, yes? Harms outweigh the benefits. And this is why Allah says that it's prohibited. Is that clear? So, Mufti said, no. we have to look at the human interest, and we shouldn't. So you're overriding the legal texts using maslaha, because the reason behind is because of extremity or extremism in over facilitating. Yes, and over usage of maslaha. So that's one area. So unregulated usage, there's no regulation. See, it's just wherever it comes, maslaha. Maslaha, it is used, but it's regulated. There are areas, yes, it's under principles. You use maslaha. You don't just use left, right, and center, and you override Islamic text. The second area, transgressing usage of rukhas, concessions, and combining one school of law with another. This is known as talfiq. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ya habibi.
I can close the main door to just for leave, because no one on side, but then you go out, you can open.
You can even leave a...
Close because
No problem, it's fine.
yeah, and then
No
you have
problem.
key, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Assalamu alaikum.
A transgressing usage of rukhas. Rukhas are concessions, right? Concessions. Like, for example, in one mother, concessions, if there are necessities, concessions are given. But where there is no necessity, yes, because, we say there is a rule, we usually say that necessities, الضرورة تبيح المعذورات. Yes, الضرورة تبيح المعذورات. Where there is necessities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given concessions. Yes, even those things which are prohibited, they are consented. They are concessions are given for that reason. But where there is no need for concessions, keep on giving. So that's over facilitation. That's going towards the other extreme. That's liberating a person from following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Basically, that's what it is. And combining one school of law with another. What it is, like, for example, you pick and choose, yeah? Somebody says, what do you think about, he's a Hanafi, say, for example. If I bleed, now Hanafi, if you bleed, according to Hanafi madhab, it breaks wudu. Yeah? So he said, Sheikh, I have bled. Look at this, what he said. Sheikh, I have bled, and I have also touched my private parts. According to the Shafi'i madhab, your wudu breaks with touching the private parts. And according to the Hanafi madhab, by bleeding, your wudu breaks. So what he does is that he says, the Mufti says, like, no, because of bleeding wudu breaks, but I will give you fatwa, yes, based on the Shafi madhab, which allows. So he's giving what? He's now using a different madhab to facilitate for him. So your wudu is fine. Now, but then he says, well, according to Shafi madhab, by touching the private part, it breaks the wudu as well. He said, no. For that, I'll give you fatwa according to the Hanafi madhab. Did you get it? This is known as talfiq. So it's combining one school of law with another. And the third one is juristic evasion of ahkam of Islamic law. This is known as tahayul, or usage of hila, stratagems or artifices. Right. Now the first one, unregulated usage of maslaha, human interest, and sometimes to the extent that one goes against the well-established Islamic legal text. The human interest recognized in Sharia is not an independent and standalone legal proof. Yes? Remember one thing, human interest is not in itself a legal proof in itself, right? Instead, it is deduced from a cluster of evidences that are derived from the Quran and Sunnah. Yes? And that denote the higher objectives, maqasid, of the lawgiver in legislating laws, such as preservation of deen, hifz preservation of life, nafs, reason, aql, progeny, and property. Yes, given that the validity of human interest is based on the cluster of textual evidences, hence it is logically impossible for it to contradict the meanings of such texts. Remember one thing, what we are saying is that how do we know that Allah has taken human interests, yes, and these areas into context? Because when we take a corpus, yes, an aggregate or a combination or a collection of different texts, we come to this conclusion. Yes, so all these different texts, they give us this conclusion that Allah has taken human interest into account. Now that is what it's an aim, isn't it? Human interests are the aims of the lawgiver. Yes, the aims of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now that human interest, say for example there is a masala, on one side there is human interest and is conflicting with what? A legal proof. A legal proof that is there, Islamic, there is a sacred text, either Quran and Sunnah, saying something, human interest is saying something else. Who do you give preference to? You will give preference to the legal text. Why? Because human interest has been extracted from the legal text. So what Allah is saying is not going against the human interest. And that human interest that you're thinking logically, that is not strong enough to override the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll go further and you will understand. For this reason, Muslim scholars and jurists view a masala as a device that corresponds to the intents of Islamic law and does not contradict any legal text, neither any consensus. So remember one thing, all the texts, legal texts in the Quran and Sunnah, they are according to human interest. Yes? Human interest. So human interest, the legal texts are already according to human interest. So there's a legal text on one side, and there is your thinking that, oh no, human interest is this one. So that human interest that you logically derived with this legal text, they are conflicting. So who will you give preference to? The legal text, because all the legal texts are what? Are according to the human interest. Is that clear? Furthermore, the overall benefit of any given maslaha must be identified with a degree of certainty. The other thing is that, look, human interest, you can't just logically say, oh, this is my human interest. Otherwise, you will say, no, human interest is there. Everyone, if I asked you your opinion about human interest, logically, do you understand me? Everyone has his own experience, he's got his own thinking, therefore he's got his own conclusion of human interest. 4 or 5 people, they will all differ regarding human interest. Yes? Therefore, we need a degree of certainty to pinpoint that this is a human interest. Yes? Otherwise, it is not taken into account. Otherwise, human interest will not be taken into account. In contrary, Imam al-Tufi has seemingly asserted. Now, what's happened is Imam al-Tufi has taken a different view altogether. Now, let's look at him, whether Imam al-Tufi meant what he said or not. Imam al-Tufi has taken, look, what we have done. We have said that there is a legal text. What we are saying? There is a legal text and there is a maslaha, human interest, which we have thought that this is a human interest. Both of them are what? Conflicting with each other. Yes? So what we are giving preference to? The legal text over the human interest that we are thinking. Is that right? But Imam al-Tufi has done the other way. He said, no, if there is a legal text, that's what has been understood. We will look at him. He said, if there is a legal text, and on the other side, if there is a maslaha, yes, maslaha, human interest, then human interest will be given preference to over
text.
Over the legal text, which is a completely against against the majority of scholars. That is a very bizarre and rare view. But let's look at him. Did he really mean what he said? Because sometimes people, if you don't read properly, yes, you might end up taking his words out of context. That can happen. So let's look at him. Imam al-Tufi has seemingly asserted that in an event of any conflict between a maslaha and a textual evidence and consensus, then the former, meaning maslaha, must be given preference to the latter one, meaning the legal text and consensus. If true, if that assertion is true, if true, then that is a bizarre suggestion. True or false? Bizarre. However, it is worth going back to the original text where Imam Tufi has made this claim and from where other scholars extracted that position of his to find out whether he really meant that. This is what Imam Tufi has stated. المصلحة وباقي أدلة الشرع إما أن يتفق أو يختلف فإن اتفق فبها ونعمت وإن اختلفا فإن أمكن الجمع بينهما بوجه ما جمع وإن تعذر الجمع بينهما قدمت المصلحة على غيرها. There, that last part of the sentence is problematic. Yes? Now I'll translate. A masla and the remaining proofs of Sharia either correspond to each other, or contrast with each other. If they correspond with each other, then that is fine and excellent. فَبِهَا وَنِعْمَتْ. However, if they contradict with each other, then if it is possible to compromise with each other in a manner, in any way possible, then they will be brought together. Otherwise, maslaha will be given preference to the rest. Can you see I've made it into bold? That is problematic. How on earth can you give mas'ala preference to the rest, meaning to the legal text? That's what it's meant, isn't it? Seemingly, that's what is meant. The statement in bold is explosive. What is it? Explosive, right? As it can be perceived as if a Tufi is putting maslaha above textual evidences. The scholars perceive this stance of his as controversial. It is controversial, because no one has made such an eccentric statement apart from him. There is no one. None of the scholars we find has made this type of statement. No one. It's him who has made it. He has been historically criticized for that statement. Imagine, throughout the history, people have gone, Imam Tufi, why did he say that? Yes? So people have always criticized him. However, Al-Qaradawi, after reading a Tufi statement and contemplating over it, concluded, لما رجعت إلى مقولة الطوفي وقرأتها بعمعان وجدته يصرح بأن النص الذي يعنيه ليس النص القطعي. That gives a bit of consolation. Al-Qaradawi says, when I revisited the statement of At-Tufi, meaning that statement that he's made, and I read it in depth, I found it clarifying that what he means by the textual evidence is not the definite textual evidence. Did you get it? There are two types of textual evidences, right? There are two types of textual evidences. One is ad-dalil al-qat'i, definite, from the Quran and Sunnah, definite. There's another textual evidence, which is not in the Quran, but it could be in the Sunnah, which is not definite, which is known as dhanni. Yes? Assumptive. So the textual evidence that he's saying here, he's talking about the assumptive textual evidence. If it is contradicting assumptive textual evidence, if it is, or even it could be qiyas. Say for example, it's contradicting and going against maslaha, then maslaha will be given preference to that assumptive textual evidence. Yes. Thereafter, Al-Qaradawi went further in stating that in such a circumstance, a Tufi's position seems closer to the position of other schools of Islamic law. So, Al-Qaradawi says that if we read in that way, meaning that if we now understand Tufi means that, the problem is Tufi should have made it a bit more clear, isn't it? Scholars before they used to do, they would be very concise in their statements, right? And they would think that all the readers are clever enough to understand what they're meaning. Yes, but problem is the students who came afterwards, they're scratching their head, and that's what's happened. So look, Al-Qaradawi had to go and try to probe further. Yes, try to probe further. Does a Tufi mean that or no? So it meant for Al-Qaradawi to read the whole book, to read the whole book to say, oh, no. What he's meaning by textual evidence, he means assumptive evidence, not the definite qat'i evidence. Though it seems strange in his presentation, yes? Look, is it not strange in his presentation the way he's presented? Yes? Controversial in his style. Is he not controversial in his style? Is it controversial the way he's put it, right? Rough in his writing. He's rough in his writing, especially when he keeps his text absolute sometimes and fails to stipulate them. He should have stipulated them. Is that right? Yeah? You should have said, but what I mean by textual evidence is the assumptive textual evidence. Had he said that, then he would come out to a good extent out of this controversy. Because there are some schools of Islamic law that allow that. If it is an assumptive evidence, or or like qiyas or whatever, yes, it is very assumptive and it happens to be going against maslaha. Maslaha sometimes might be given preference to. Is that clear? Hussein Hamid Hassan also agrees with that by stating, now Hussein Hamid Hassan, he also agrees with Al-Qaradawi. He says, yes, this is what I also think. By the way, this is my right hand. Maybe people watching, they might be thinking that I'm using the left hand. When it's recorded, it shows the other way. And they will say, Astaghfirullah, he's going against the Sunnah. No, people will think like that. So I'm just telling them so it's clear to them.
You can use both names.
Okay, he says الذي نراه أن النص الذي يسلم الطوفي إمكان التعارض بينه وبين المصلحة وبالتالي تقديم الأخيرة عليه هو النص الظني. أما النص الذي حصلت فيه قطعية من كل جهة فإن الطوفي يمنع تخالفه للمصلحة فضلا أن يكون بتقديم المصلحة عليه. Beautiful. He's saying just as Qaradawi said, but in a more elaborate way. He says, what we perceive is that the textual evidence which At-Tufi resigns to believe in the possibility of conflict between it and Al-Maslaha, thereafter the prioritization of the latter, meaning maslaha, over the former, meaning the textual evidence respectively, is in fact the assumptive textual evidence an-nas al-dhanni. Yes? As for the textual evidence that has undefiniteness, qat'iyya, in all aspects, At-Tufi negates its contradiction with al-maslah. Yeah, al-maslaha. Let alone the prioritization of al-maslaha rather than the former. Does that clarify? He says that in reality, if you read At-Tufi from one side to the other, you will find where he finds that maslaha is going against a definite textual evidence. He says, no, that is not a maslaha. Textual evidence, what he's saying, that is maslaha. Does that make, yeah? Some contemporary jurists and mufti is inclined towards the excessive uses of masla. Now, look, this is what a Tufi, some contemporary muftis, they might say, oh, Tufi has said so. Rather than looking what Tufi meant, they will say, Tufi has said so, so we can, they might, what they are misrepresenting Tufi. Is that true or not? Are they not if they are using that, yes? But sometimes they don't even mention the name of Tufi. They get obsessed with using of maslaha to an extent that they start overriding the legal textual evidences. Right? To the extent that they override textual evidences within. There are many examples of such muftis preferring maslaha to textual evidence. Can I give you some examples?
Okay.
Yeah. For example, one of the former grand muftis of Egypt, I don't want to mention his name. Okay? You shouldn't do giba, yeah? Once issued a fatwa, is that allowed, yeah? Once issued a fatwa allowing people to receive interest with, which is interest, yeah? Usually against the consensus of scholars that usually riba is haram, whether much or little. He said, no, it's fine. Why? When he said, okay, no, you can take it from a conventional bank, with riba and everything. You said, why? He said, maslaha. When you said, well, it's haram, Quran says this, says you shouldn't be taking riba. He says, no, maslaha. Yeah? So use maslaha to override the legal text. Yeah? Other recent fatwas. Do you want some other recent fatwas? Include the permissibility for Muslims to sell alcohol in order to attract tourists. Yeah? Huh?
It's also in Egypt.
What?
Is this also in Egypt?
Many places. Okay? Permissibility for businessmen to forego fasting in Ramadan if it has a negative impact on the business. Nice. Permissibility of dealing with riba in order to promote commerce. Permissibility of close encounters and prohibiting intermingling of sexes in public places in order to promote refined manners and hopefully inhibit sexual urges to each other. Yeah? That you can look in the book by Ibn Hamid Raf al-Haraj fi Sharia. You can look at other books as well, which I've already given there. Permissibility of overriding the textual evidence, yes, concerning the female portion of inheritance by making her portion equal to her male counterpart in belief of upholding equal rights. That happened recently in Tunisia.
Who's Muhammad Farhat?
I don't know who it is. And allowing women to appear semi-naked in media programs on the pretext to keep up with modern developments to which the jurisprudence must adapt and allow new understanding concerning it. If people are doing, let them, but if you endorse it, you don't let them, but you do Amar bil Ma'ruf. I'm not saying you let them. Now, if they're doing it, right? If they're doing it, obviously you do Amar bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. But if you're not doing Amar bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, which is the last part of it, yes, feel bad about it inside your heart and you're not saying anything. Yes? But endorsing it. You're endorsing it. No. The munkar that is being done is fine. Yes?
Sheikh, there was this case of football competition that I was told the Sheikh said probably the footballers can delay prayers.
Usually when after pray. But then when you give fatwa, what happens? The person says, okay, I'll pray later on, right? Once I finish everything. No, during that period of time you can pray. There is no way a prayer would be interrupted. Yes?
Because his aura is not covered properly.
What?
It's because his aura is not covered properly. So he's not
No. When you go into the changing room, you've got the...
You can put whatever.
You can wear.
The football Isha is about 8:30, but now they start the football tournament at 8:45 so that people can pray first.
And that's good. And the other thing is that, the Isha time is all night.
Long night.
Right? If you played football, afterwards, or you're watching football, you can pray it after. The reason I'm saying is that, you know, World Cup will start, people go mad, right?
Next year.
Yeah? Salat times, I would say to them that, look, okay, you've not come to the masjid, but at least, you know, when there is the half time, when there is commentary going, don't listen to that, just pray your salah. Yes? Then carry on watching. Right?
Yeah.
Or the other thing is that if it is Isha, watch it, but pray it. Not that, oh, now I'm tired and this and that, I'll pray later on and this and that, let me have a bit of nap. If you say have a nap, you will have all night nap. And wake up in Fajr and say, Astaghfirullah, what happened?
So,
Yeah?
You can record and you can watch later.
That's, yeah. But people, they like, you know, fresh. They don't like, you know, something that they want fresh sometimes. No. I mean, what you're saying, you can record it, you can watch recorded programs, but the problem is people want fresh. And they want to, upkeep. And I've seen, you know, I'm telling you the fact, we have brothers who are really religious, like in terms, but when football comes, yeah, not only that, I've seen someone who was very mad for a football team. The football team lost and he was crying. No, he was crying. Boy, now he's grown up. I think he's out of it, hopefully. He was becoming Hafid, and I became Hafid. And somebody said that he's crying. I said, no. You know, but sometimes this could be a bit, they could be a bit sad, you know. And, you know, when they're a bit sad, people say, oh, he's crying. So I thought it might be like that. But when I went, I saw literally crying. Because Man United lost. He was just mad for that team. And he cried because Man United lost. This obsession of giving priority to masala in the face of clear textual proof, going against, going against it, is the weakest position and stands no ground in the face of stronger proof ingrained in Islamic law. All of this is done in the name of keeping, it should be all of them is done in the name of keeping human interests afloat in circumstances that violate clear legal texts in Sharia in order to adapt to the requirements of someone's modern life. In reality, that's the case. You know, so what you're making is you're making the deen subjective to the people's wants and desires. Now, the second area is transgressing usage of rukhas, concessions, and combining one school of law with another. It is clearly permissible to use the legal rukhas concessions in the Quran and Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have stated, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى يُحِبُّ أَن تُؤْتَ رُخَصَ أن تؤت رخصه كما يكره أن تؤت معصيته. رواه Ahmad. The Prophet ﷺ said, verily Allah likes that his rukhas, concessions, are performed, just as he dislikes that his disobedience is done. So in terms of those clearly, legally given concessions, you know, they have been already been praised. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah likes that you do concessions. Yes, but where the problem happens then? Where's the problem? The problem happens during a continuous pursuit to seek concessions based on certain interpretations. Now, the problem when it happens is that when there's this pursuit all the time, that, you know, we have to look for concessions. Yeah, wherever we can find concessions, yes, we have to find it. So there is that, you know, even if it's a twisted interpretation, yeah, some scholars has given tafsir of it to mean this, to take it, you know, as part of the concession. Yeah, weak juristic statements, and even, you know, trying to look for concessions through looking at weak juristic opinions, and sometimes based on eclectic approach of borrowing. Eclectic means, very open. Eclectic means very broad. Eclectic approach of borrowing from different schools of fiqh and different scholars, whoever amongst them offer lenient juristic opinion. So sometimes what it is just to go for those weaker, within the madhab, look for weaker opinions and try to take it, right? So because a person has adapted to taking the concessions, and sometimes he's not doing for himself, right? He's doing for his friends. Sometimes maybe the friends might be very noble, yes, so he wants to facilitate for them or whatever. So he'll say, well, in our madhab there is also this opinion, that opinion, which is but those opinions are very weak, yes, very, very weak. So he will still give fatwa on that, yes. So it's pursuit of concessions, the habit of obsession of trying to get as many concessions as possible and keep on giving, yes. And sometimes what it might be, borrowing from different madhabs, the concession that you find in the madhab, or the facilitation that you find, yes, facilitation you find in Hanbali madhab, take that, yes. The facilitation you find in the Hanafi madhab, take that. The facilitation you find this madhab, take it, yes.
Is it that's happening in Islamic finance?
That's a good question.
For next time.
I will give you an answer after. Let's read, and maybe it might give you an answer, okay? The problem happens during a continuous pursuit to seek concessions, on certain interpretation, weak juristic statements, and sometimes based on eclectic approach of borrowing from different schools of fiqh and different scholars. Whomever amongst them offer lenient juristic opinions, just take them. You're alone today, You're alone. Scholars have warned of this approach. Scholars have said this is not a good thing, obsession to look for concessions, This eclectic approach is known as talfiq. Talfiq in taqlid entails either following one madhab in chapter of fiqh and following another madhab in a different chapter of fiqh, yes. Like for example, you say, ibadat. In ibadat, that madhab is very lenient, They don't do raful yadain, blah 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 blah. Hanafis, I'll follow that, Or no, I'll follow the Shafi madhab because of the yes. But in transactions, the Hanafis have done a brilliant job, I'll just take the Hanafi because they have done a good job anyway in terms of broadening. If you look, the fiqh of Hanafis in terms of muamalat transaction is very broad and this and that. So pick and choose, I'll take this, yes. Sometimes it's all to do with chapters of fiqh, following one madhab in chapter of fiqh and following another madhab in a different chapter, or either combining between madhabs within a certain chapter. And sometimes I've given them examples here, right? The first example, 94. For example, one who follows the Shafi madhab in the matters of worship and the Hanafi madhab in the issues concerning transactions, okay? Or either combining between madhabs within a certain chapter. That is 95. Such as to follow the Hanafi madhab concerning items that make taking bath obligatory, and to follow Shafi on how to perform the bath. So you in the same chapter, right? What are the things that make a bath obligatory, taking shower obligatory? I'll follow the Hanafi madhab. They might be lenient or whatever. Let me take that. But how do I perform it? I'll take Shafi madhab. So within one chapter, you're also exchanging, using different madhabs. Yes, or either combining between the schools of fiqh within the particulars of a single injunction. In a single injunction, there are different particulars. I'll give you an example of that. Yes, for example, to the Shafi madhab, in rubbing the water on strands of hair, like the Shafi madhab. In Shafi madhab, if you do like this, your masa is done. Is that right? Yeah? Masa is there. You just take water. Yeah? 3 times, yeah? Go ahead. Masa is there. I know that because the part of Africa that I used to live in, Southern Africa, they used to follow the Shafi madhab. Yeah. Malaysia, Shafi madhab. But the northern part of Africa, Nigeria, and all this stuff is Maliki madhab. So it's a bit different. But they used to go like, that's done. But the Hanafis, they say, no, all the hair. Masa means to cover the whole hair. Yeah? So, what we find is, so what he does, he follows the Shafi madhab in rubbing the water because that's easy, right? The Hanafi wudu in maintaining after taking, yes, but when in keeping the wudu, like the Shafi madhab is a bit strict in what? If you touch the private parts, yeah, the wudu is gone, right? Right? Is that true? Yeah? I have to confirm. Yes. But the Hanafi mazhab, so what he's doing within the same injunction of wudu, he's picking and choosing mazhabs wherever it is easy for him. Yes? Yes? He's shopping the mazhabs according to where the facilitation is. Yeah, so he's looking for concessions in reality. Yeah? Let's move on. Muhammad Ulaysh al-Maliki states in his book Fath al-Ali al-Malik, والأصح أنه يمتنع تتبع الرخص في المذاهب بأن يأخذ منها ما هو الأهون فيما يقع من المسائل، وقيل لا يمتنع، وصرح بعضهم بتفسيق متطبع الرخص. Now listen, not all the scholars have said, you know, whether you can go for concessions or not, right? Some scholars are a bit lenient about it, right? The most correct position, is the prohibition of shopping the concessions, yeah, pursuing them, yeah, pursuing concessions in different schools of law. That's the correct position, by taking from them the easiest options among the juristic issues that occur in therein. Just as I gave the examples, it has been stated that is not prohibited. Some scholars, they say no, that's fine. Some scholars, okay? Some have explicitly, now some who have taken a very strict approach in this, they've branded the follower of concessions as a fasik. What they've said? Yeah, because you know what he's doing? Look, he said, no, he's done two bad things, yeah? He's bleeding. With that, according to Hanafi mother, breaks wudu, right? Breaks wudu. He said, no, I'm Shafi about it. Within the wudu, yeah? Then he touches the private part, right? Then he says, okay, but you have touched the private. No, I'm now Hanafi, yeah? You know, they allow it, yes? Then when it comes to the hair, right, he just goes, you're Hanafi, brother. You should do the whole hair. No, in that I'm Shafi. So what is just looking for all these easy options. Okay, in the Fiqh Encyclopedia, Al-Musuwat al-Fiqhiyya, it states it is not allowed to pursue rukhas of the ijtihadi schools of law without any reason among the reasons that have already been mentioned, anything of that sort, as that means a flight from legal obligations. You know, when I'm writing, sometimes I don't go then. I don't have time sometimes to edit it. I was out, right? So, okay, which have already been mentioned, which have already been should be mentioned there, right? Been mentioned, and anything of that sort. As that, see what you said about Islamic finance. Can you see? If there are reasons, then you can follow the concessions, yeah? But there's two things. One is where concessions is needed. There is a dire need for concessions to be taken into account. Yes? Yes? So the scholars of one madhab might give fatwa. A scholar of one madhab, say for example, Mufti Taqi Uthmani. Yes? He sees that, Islamic finance, as you mentioned, Islamic finance. He sees the Maliki madhab would be better to adopt the concession of that. There is a need for that. That's something. Wa alaikum salam. But however, pursuing it, you know, like No, I won't, unwarranted pursuance, yes, pursuit, unwarranted pursuit of concession all the time, wherever you try to find out, it's like look for the easy way out, loopholes. Yeah. That's not a good thing, yes. Because what that means flight from legal obligations, yes, washing hands from responsibility, isn't it? Yes, legal responsibility, demolition of the resolute commands and prohibition, deprivation of the rights of the servants. It conflicts with the objective of the wise divine law, which calls for easement in general terms and concession in specific terms, as the Quran says. Allah wants ease for you, and He intends not to impose difficulty upon you. And as the narration states, verily Allah Ta'ala likes that His rukas are performed, just as He dislikes that His obedience is done. Some scholars have branded this act of this as an act of fisq, disobedience, which is not allowed. All right. So there is a difference in opinion among the scholars concerning adopting concession given by other scholars or schools of law. Look, one is adopting and the other is pursuing. There's two things, yes. One is where need is there to adopt it, yes, where things become completely restricted. If you do not adopt it, you are putting yourself in a hard position. So say, for example, Mufti Taqi Usmani, he will say, okay, let's take this from the Maliki madhab, because that is giving us a leeway, right? It's making it easy in this matter, otherwise we will be stuck. We don't have an answer to it in our madhab. We don't have an answer to it because the scholars before us haven't mentioned, for example, or the scholars have mentioned, right? But if we try to give the fatwa in this respect, it will it will place hardship and difficulty on people, yes, and a very strong hardship and difficulty on people to an extent that there's no way, yes. So that is what adoption of concession because of a need that has come out, yes, and the other one is just pursuance of it, to just make my life more easy, yes, and to make it myself more liberal than anything, yes, and to enjoy my life more better. That is then their pursuing of concessions in reality is following your nafs, following your own desires, yes. So there is a difference of opinion among scholars concerning adopting concessions given by other scholars or schools of thought concerning unprecedented cases. That's what I'm saying, Mufti Taqi Usmani. Yes, this is an unprecedented case. Oh, penalty. Can we give a penalty for late payment? For late payment?
Yes.
Can you give a penalty? No, scholars have said no, you can't give, it shouldn't be a financial penalty. You can't give it, but you can give him other kinds of something that allows him to pay on time, yes? Give him other types of punishments rather than the financial penalty, because that would be riba or whatever. So can we give, so Mufti Taqi Usmani will say, this is an unprecedented case. He's in Islamic finance, isn't it? So, okay, Maliki madhab allows. Do you understand me? Yeah. So, it's an unprecedented cases. Do you understand me? Cases that have already happened and scholars have already given, that's something else. So, we are talking about another area altogether. Can you follow the concession of a different madhab in unprecedented cases? Scholars have differed about it. Does that make it clear? This position of adopting the position of another mazhab of law, another school of law, meaning madhab, of adopting concessions, al-akhdh bil-rukhas, is attributed to Imam al-Qarafi. Most scholars of the Shafi'i school and the Hanafi school, meaning the Hanafi schools, they allow it. Most scholars of the Hanafi and Shafi'i schools, and Imam al-Qarafi of the yes, they allow it. Yes, it is also the favored position of by the Hanafi jurist Hafiz ibn al-Humam. Yes? Hafiz ibn al-Humam. The following reservations must be taken into consideration concerning this position. One thing you have to remember, it's not like unregulated. You just keep on taking concessions like that. But there are some reservations to be taken into consideration before doing that. Yes? Adopting concessions. First, the scholars who allow this will argue that this is only for the lay people. Yes? When it happens about concessions, they will say it's only for the lay people, not for the jurist, meaning a lay person could take, yes, concessions from different scholars, right? He might say, he might phone one mufti, will say, Sheikh, it is allowed, and that mufti happens to be a bit straight. Say, no. So, I'm stuck now, yeah? So a lay person will phone another mufti will say, yeah, you're allowed. He will say, Alhamdulillah, for giving me such a good answer. Obviously, he's looking behind, at the background. There might be an evidence, yeah? Yes? The other one might be strict, yeah? Very strict in his iftar. Yes, for the lay people. Do we understand that? Yes? The lay people may choose a mufti of their own choice and even adopt the concessions given by a certain mufti of their choice. Yes? He is not bound that he has to follow that mufti. You can follow any mufti. True? This would not be the case for the mufti himself and mujtahid himself. Instead, he must deliver his fatwa or juristic opinion based on his well-grounded research and ijtihad, meaning the ijtihad that is there, that he follows, and the principles that his mother is laying or whatever, he should be following that. Otherwise, what will happen is that he's not being what we call consistent. He's not being consistent. Otherwise, he won't be consistent. He's breaking the principles, yes, that are already there, and people will question that, you're not consistent. Instead, he must deliver his fatwa, yes, I've said. Second, the lay people may adopt concessions given by certain muftis of their choice. However, that should only be permissible if they are not adopting them out of the whims and desire. Remember, the other thing is that, okay, the lay people, they're allowed, yes, to choose, yes, concessions, yeah, they're allowed, but it's not like, let me look for the easiest mufti, yes, fatwa shopping, somebody said, yes, just now, no. It's just if it's a need and necessity, yes, they're doing out of genuine need because they're stuck, because this mufti is giving a fatwa which puts them in a very dire situation and they're stuck. There's no way to come out of it. So he says, well, I've already phoned this mufti, I'll phone somebody else. So he's not really doing a fatwa shopping, he's trying to come out of it by getting a legal opinion from a mufti. Yes? And the mufti that is giving that concession, obviously is not doing concession out of his own mind as well. He's looking at the dalail, isn't it? The proofs behind it. Yeah. Scholars only allow seeking concessions in special cases justified by need. No mufti should make a habit of pursuing concession in every case or for every person who requests for a legal ruling. One has to remember is that mufti should not always look for concessions all the time. Do we understand? Yes? He shouldn't be, and he should look at, say for example, a person is stuck, and he said, Sheikh, I am in a very bad situation, this is the case, yes, am I allowed to do this? Yes, it's something which is makruh. So if you say, no, makruh, you don't do it, at that time you'll say, okay, fine, for you, because you are in that situation of need. So he might give him a different fatwa, yes? Yeah. Based on concession. And another person, yes, who is fine, he doesn't need that thing, he might give a different fatwa. Those who are adamant on taking extreme lenient approach and thereafter pursuing concessions in iftar is because they envisage that this allows one to develop a tendency to follow, those who are adamant on taking extreme lenient approach and thereafter pursuing concession is because they envisage that this allows one to develop a tendency to follow one's whims and desires instead, thus violating the principles which Sharia wanted to preserve. Let me see what that meant. Imam Zarakshi quotes from Imam Ahmad, who states, if someone acted upon, what it should have been is this, that those who are adamant on taking extreme lenient approach and thereafter pursuing iftar is because they envisage that this allows one to develop a tendency to follow one's whims and desires, thus violating the principles. Anyway, let's go further. If someone acted upon every concession he heard of, for example, the position taken by the Kufan school concerning the definition of wine. The Kufan school, these are old schools, yes, of law. The Kufan school said that, other drinks, apart from the alcohol, apart from the wine, yes, other drinks that may have the potential, other drinks meaning made of other things, that if you drink a small amount will not cause you intoxication, a small amount, but if you drink too much it will cause intoxication. They say that this is not the khamr that has been mentioned in the Quran. That's the Kufan school. Do you understand? The khamr that has been mentioned is that which is made from wine, right? Meaning say for example, I'll give you an example. If I took nabith of dates, you've heard the word nabith before? Nabith is what they do. They take dates, right, and they put water in it and they leave it for the next day so the water becomes sweet because of the dates.
Yep.
This is known as nabith. Now, if you leave that for a prolonged period of time, it becomes alcoholic. Yes? Now, they said that, look, can you have the nabith of dates? Yeah, you can have it. They said that, if you take a small amount, it's fine. But if you ended up taking so much amount, say for example from the second day, if you make nabith and have it straight away, it's fine. If you put some fruits and, it's fine. But if you keep in a hot country for a while, hot country, not in the fridge, hot country, that turns into alcohol. There's fermentation and whatever and happens, and it turns into what? Alcohol. Now, when it turns into alcohol, if you drink, it will intoxicate you if you drink a good quantity of it. They say that, look, all these drinks, the Kufan school, they say that apart from wine, because wine, they say, قَلِيلُهُ وَكَثِيرُهُ haram. Little more is haram, they say. But apart from wine, other potential drinks that potentially might be alcoholic if you take a large amount, they say small amount is fine. Because small amount does not intoxicate. Okay. That was the Kufan school. Is that clear? So, if someone acted upon every concession, so somebody says, no, for this I will follow the Kufan school. I'm just giving an example, right? And the position taken by the Kufan school, right? And the position taken by the Medinan school concerning music. The Medinan school of fiqh, those days, right? Early parts of Islam, right? Obviously after the Sahaba, the Medinan school was very lenient about music. They would say it's allowed. Listening to music and this and that, right? So somebody said, no, from there I will follow the Medinan school, right? Here I will follow the Kufan school, right? And Meccan school concerning muta, temporary marriage. So what he's doing is taking everything, bits and bits, wherever, yes? Then he would turn into a libertine. Libertine meaning that someone who is out of, he's not, he doesn't have, he doesn't live under the rule of law, yes? He's become like, he's fine with anarchy, libertine. Another good example of understanding the reason why some scholars took a harsher position against the pursuit of concessions, even for the lay people, is the incident that took place during the encounter between Al-Qadi Ismail al-Maliki with al-Mu'tadid. What happened when the former visited the latter and the latter gave the former book? So what happened was that Qadi Ismail al-Maliki happened to be with Mu'tadid, and al-Mu'tadid, a person, from a ruling class, yes, he gives a book to this scholar called Qadi Ismail al-Maliki. The book contained collection of concessions given by some scholars and their evidences. So somebody, what he did, he wrote a book, Kitab al-Rukhas, yes, of all the concessions, yes, and all the evidences, yes. So Al-Qadi Ismail al-Maliki saw the book and he became really angry. He said, whoever wrote this book is an atheist. Upon this, Al-Mu'tadid asked, are not the hadith cited therein authentic? Look, the person is not only written the concessions, but he's also mentioned the hadiths for it, right? On this, Al-Qadi Ismail replied in affirmative. He said, yes, I know the hadiths that have been mentioned there are what? Authentic. Thereafter he added, but a scholar who declared the potentially intoxicant beverages, yeah, which is allowed by the Kufan school, permissible when drunk in a small quantity, also prohibited temporary marriages. Did you understand? Yes. While a scholar who prohibited potentially intoxicating beverages, yes, allowed temporary marriages, meaning that the Meccan school, yes, they said, no, you're not allowed to have these nabis, different nabizes, right? Different juices. They are like, it's water with other things mixed. Like, for example, sometimes they would put inside the water, they would end up putting raisins, raisins, and they would leave it for a few days to make it sweet. Yes, but if it stays for a while, it can have a bit of alcoholic smell. What they used to say is that if you take a small quantity of it, it's fine. Yes? But if you keep it in the fridge, for days and days, nothing happens. Do you understand? But, any juice, even any juice, if you leave it outside for a while, it becomes alcoholic. Yes? I did mention about fruit salad. Can you remember? Fruit salad. And what happened was that the fruit salad was left outside, in a hot country, and the Imam was there in the mosque, and he took the fruit salad and he ate without realizing. And what happened was that he was intoxicated and he was praying salah and reading Qul Allahu Ahad and jumping to Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, and he kept on doing back and forth, yes, from Alhamdulillah to there and there, and people are thinking what's happened today to the Imam. But the reality was that, not deliberately, he had eaten that fruit salad which was left outside and had become an intoxicant. Is somebody knocking? Maybe somebody knocking. Inshallah, we'll finish quickly, inshallah, Aziz. It is because it is the same thing. I'll just go, and he will not lose much, inshallah. While a scholar who prohibited potentially intoxicant, there is no scholar on earth. Look what Qadi Ismail Maliki said. There's no scholar on earth who has not erred. Meaning that he is not erred. Whoever compiles the errors of all the scholars and acts upon them will lose his religion. Thereafter, Al-Mu'tadid ordered the book to be burned. Numerous scholars nowadays employ eclectic and over-facilitating approach. Okay, in Ifta, approving thereby countless concessions. Right. As for circumstances where one is compelled to employ concessions, this will be judged according to their. Okay, that's fine. Can you open the fire exit downstairs? Do you know the fire exit downstairs? No, here, this one, this small one here. The small one. And call the brother Faizi, he's going upstairs, I think. Brother Faizi? He's here, I think, downstairs. He went and he thought of coming back and joining the class.
Did you? Oh, you're from there. Yeah. Both of them there.
Inshallah, we'll finish soon, inshallah. No, the other brother, he locked the
Forgive me for the inconvenience.
No, that's no problem, inshallah. We'll carry on from there. What numerous scholars nowadays employ, the broader approach of facilitating, and if that does, they end up thereby approving countless concessions. Can you see? There, you have not lost much, inshallah. It's the same thing. What happened about Mu'tadid? Yeah, he told that book to be burnt. As for circumstances, yes, where one is compelled to employ concessions, they will be judged according to their merits. Yeah, where concession is needed, then according to the merit. But this, just to please people and everything, you don't overdrive yourself in concessions. Now, juristic evasion, this is what you want, yeah? Tahayul. Yes? Tahayul, okay? Or ihtiyal. In Arabic, we call it tahayul or ihtiyal. Juristic evasion of the ahkam of Islamic law. Yeah? Just like tax evasion. You know tax evasion, yeah? Yeah? So, again, juristic evasion is nearly the same thing. Do you understand? In tax evasion, what happens? They look for loopholes, isn't it? Yes? They look for loopholes and they try to use those loopholes. So these are stratagems they use for big companies to avoid taxes. Yes? There is one which is known as double Irish. Have you heard of that? That's one of them. Double Irish, Facebook and all this they use. Facebook uses double Irish. They pay a small amount to Ireland, tax, right? They might have some kind of agreement with the government. And then there are double Irish means they've got two companies, right? Two companies. So what happens is that Facebook, when you ask for ads or whatever, Facebook, it's in Ireland, their company. So the payment that you're making here is going to Ireland. So according to the jurisdiction of Ireland, they have to pay the tax. But if they were in the UK, they would be paying higher tax. There they have already got some kind of agreement with the government. So then after, what they do is, it's known as double Irish, because from there they take that money and they put the money now into a different company, and from there they send it offshore. That's one way of tax evasion. The other one is not the Costa, is it? One of the coffee brands here.
Starbucks.
I don't know, maybe. What they do is they've got, in Europe as well, they've got their operations in Europe. So what they do is, here they buy the coffee from their sister company, parent company or sister company in that door is open, that's why it's a bit cold, if you can close it. So they're buying from the sister company, and they're buying at a higher price. So they're showing losses here in the UK, and if you show losses, you don't pay taxes. But in reality, they're not making losses, they're making profit, because if they're buying from their sister company, the money is going to the company anyway. So that's another one. There's many other different loopholes. Yes? And that's now, because we have entered into a very, not a recession, but, in an economic austerity situation. Therefore, now they have to try to claw back all these...
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. But how can you do it? Because these are big corporate entities and you don't want them to run away from the country. Yeah? So you have to do it in a different... So I did send a letter to the government about it.
Who?
To the government about it. And I received a reply
Seriously?
a while ago. And then after that, what happens is that they started taking action now. Then they didn't, but now they're taking action on all these corporate entities. But how, to what extent you can take an action, that's another thing. To what extent? Because, if they say, okay, we leave, there's an intermarriage. If they say we leave UK and we will go somewhere else, right? It is their loss. But if they stay in UK, they're paying higher taxes. They don't want to do that. So the government has to really look, what their intention is. Then they can try to, because some people, they wouldn't like that they are paying taxes, but these big corporate entities, they are not paying taxes. It's not a good thing. But then when you try to argue with them, they will say, no, but we are employing so many people and this and that. Anyway, I don't want to go into all the... Yeah, so that's what it is. So we have juristic evasion, just like what? Tax evasion. This is another feature and trait of the school that excessively adopts laxity and over-facilitation by using legal evasion and artifices, so loopholes, yes? This sometimes entails using evasive techniques and artifices, which in Arabic they are known as hiyal, which is the plural of hila. It's the plural of what? Hila. Okay? To hamper or disable a legal injunction, thereafter establishing falsehood. Yes? Do you want me to give an example of that? Like for example, there is Zayd and Bakr. Zayd is the father, Bakr is the son. Yes? Now, Zayd is a billionaire and he has to pay zakat. Yes? So before the year ends and before zakat becomes farad on him, he gifts all the money to his son. Did you get it? He says, this is hadiah for you. Yes? So the son takes, and now the son is also grown up and it will become farz next year for him. Yeah? So before the year ends for his son, he gives back to the father. He's looking for a loophole to stop giving zakat. Yeah, that's a loophole. Just like tax evasion. Yes? So that's zakat evasion. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Did we understand it? So, yes. So, this sometimes entails using, not all evasive techniques entail that, but sometimes some evasive techniques and artifices, they involve hampering or disabling a legal injunction, thereafter establishing falsehood, ithbat batil, yes, and hampering truth, ibtal al-haqq. This kind of employment of evasive is expressly and legally prohibited. Okay? So there's two kinds, we will look at it, right? Hence, it is prohibited to issue fatwas based on employing this kind of evasive techniques. Somebody shouldn't give fatwa. He says, a billionaire comes and says, Sheikh, look, I'm a billionaire, paying zakah will be few millions. If you can tell me. And Sheikh says, why don't you do this? You've got your son, Bakr. Just before 1st of Ramadan, when it's due or whatever date is due, just gift it to him. Just transfer the money to him. Say, I've given you as a gift. Yes? But with the intention of zakah invasion. So he said, okay, but then next year it will be farad on him. Then just before the next year finishes, tell him to gift it back to you.
Has that ever happened? Has there been a scenario where
people do that?
who are they trying to fool?
Huh?
So who are they trying to fool? Allah.
No, if you have tax evasion, there is also zakat evasion.
Yeah, I'm saying about those people who do that, who are they trying to fool?
Yes, hence, this is what we are saying. Hence, it is prohibited to issue fatwas based on employing this kind of evasive techniques and artifices, and it is also prohibited to act upon such edicts, If somebody gives fatwa, don't act upon it. Therefore, no mufti should pass any fatwas using this kind of devices. Now, I have to explain to you that this is one kind, but there are two kinds of evasive techniques. How many kinds there are? Two. I have to understand that. It is important to note that primarily there are two kinds of juristic evasion and stratagem. The first kind is the one that establishes haqq. The first kind, what it is? It does not hamper haqq. It establishes truth and repels falsehood. Yes? This is legally permissible. This evasive technique is legally permissible. I'll explain to you how. Not only it is permissible, it bifurcates into three subkinds. It could be even wajib, yes, desirable mustahab, or allowed mubah. The second kind, which I gave the example of regarding zakah, or juristic evasion, is the one which is prohibited. This is the one, I'll give you another example. Example is that, you have children who will inherit your wealth. And you're old man and you're going to die anytime. Yes? So you say, okay, I will give all this to Al Maktoum Mosque. Or I'll give this all to that charity. Yeah? But the intention behind is what? To deny the children of their inheritance.
So this will be number 2.
Yeah, number 2. That would be like just zakat evasion. You want to evade paying inheritance to your children, which is a wrong thing, to be honest. It's not allowed. It's prohibited. The second kind of juristic evasion is the one which is prohibited. This is the one, just because he had a small little altercation with the children, right? And he said, these guys, they don't deserve anything from my wealth. Okay, so what you have done? Oh, I've given everything into charity, and I'm going to die anyway soon. Doctor said you will not live for another 2-3 months, so fine, let them beg. That's wrong. A lot of things do happen in the world, right? You might be living in a small bubble.
But he doesn't intend.
He's intending to deny them of inheritance.
In terms of intending, zakat evasion, then that will be the case, isn't it?
But we're talking about inheritance now, not zakat.
Yes.
He's evading allow his wealth to go through inheritance process because of that, and it is not allowed. In sickness is not allowed. It is important so we said that the first one is allowed, and it can even be wajib. The second kind is what? Is prohibited. This is also is one to establish falsehood, isn't it? Yes? Ithbat al-batil, and to repel truth, daful haq. Here, what it is, he is denying the rights of his own children of inheritance, isn't it? Yes? This kind is divided into two kinds, prohibited haram and undesirable makruh. The following is the golden rule to remember concerning the main kinds of artifices. I've used different words to explain. Stratagems, artifices, and evasion. They all mean the same. Okay? Artifice, evasion, and stratagem is the same thing. In Arabic we call it hila. The first one is prohibited, that because it establishes falsehood and hampers truth. The other one is permissible as it realizes truth and repels falsehood. Ihqaq al-haq and ibtal al-batil. The tree below illustrates these two kinds and their subkinds. Did you see the tree? Yes? Yes, I might show to the people there. Can you see it? There it is. Hopefully they can see it. Right. So, juristic evasion, tahayul, right? The first one is stratagem or evasion, that establishes truth and repels falsehood, dafal batil. This is permissible. And there are three subkinds of it. Obligatory, sometimes to use tahayul is wajib. Faizi? Sometimes to use tahayul, evasion is what? Wajib. Another one is what? Mustahab. And another one is just permissible. Now, the one that is prohibited is the one that establishes falsehood and repels haqq. And there are two kinds, haram and makruh. Yes? The above table demonstrates that not all juristic evasions and artifices are prohibited. Yes? However, the jurist must avoid issuing fatwas individually and publicly based on those evasions that are prohibited, whose reason for prohibition has already been mentioned above, right? Now, the prohibited artifice is for the purpose of I'm saying the same thing again. The prohibited artifice, meaning the prohibited evasion, the prohibited stratagem, is for the purpose of establishing falsehood and repelling haqq, which is known as ihqaq al-batil and daf al-haqq. For example, I'm giving you the example that I've already given before. The intention of evading paying zakat by gifting one's aid to one's son before the due date, like that billionaire man that I mentioned. Then the next year, his returning of the financial gift to his father before the due date. This evasion is prohibited as it involves denying the rights of the poor. Is that right or not? On one's wealth and evading the fulfillment of an obligation. There's an obligation on him that's coming. He's trying to evade that. It is in clear breach of the lawgiver's intents in obligating the institution of zakat. The following examples, now I'm giving the example of some of the stratagems, some of the evasions, some of the artifices which are allowed and those which are not allowed, and amongst those which are allowed, like the one which is wajib. If the law necessitates taking car insurance, there exists takaful, a Sharia compliant insurance to take it in that instance. Yes? Yes, then it becomes wajib. Say, for example, the law says that you have to take what insurance. Yes? You must take insurance. Otherwise, you are in big trouble. Yes? So, in that case, you find there is an Islamic what? Equivalent, which is known as taqaful. So, what you're doing in reality, you're taking, you're not doing that insurance, which is conventional, which might be, but you're taking an alternative, isn't it? Yes? And that alternative, yes, in reality, you are using a stratagem. You're evading the conventional one by taking the halal option. Yes? And the halal option as well is the one which is not the same as the haram option, as the money is invested in the halal things. Yes, the takaful, yes? Is the money pool, isn't it? Takaful is a money pool, isn't it? A money pool, isn't it?
Yes.
A pool of money.
Yes, but there's different type of money pooling.
Or manipulating. Okay. Now, mustahab. Breastfeeding an adopted or foster child in order to co-live with her after his maturity, thus downgraded thereby the need for strict hijab rules. Now look, what will happen is that, the child that you've taken him to adoption. Now this is a baby child. You've taken a baby to adoption or fostering. And you want to keep a long-term fostering arrangement. It's what? A long-term fostering or adopting arrangement until the child grows to the age. Now what happens is that you have your own children as well. And this girl has come into the family. Yes? And now, if that girl has come into the family, now she will live until she has reached the age of 12. Many families, fostered parents, Muslim fostering parents, by the age of 12, they say, no, we can't keep the child, take that child out now. Why? Because we have to wear scarves and we want to keep our hair open in front of our children. Yes? We want to keep our hair open and this and that, and we have to wear scarf in front of this child. We don't want the child anymore. That's the wrong thing. Yes? So what you're doing is you're breastfeeding the child. So the child becomes what? The woman? Milk mother, isn't it? When she becomes milk mother, now what will happen is the father can... the girl doesn't need to do hijab in front of the father. Is that right? Yeah?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah? Or the other way around, if it's a boy. Yes? The mother, the milk mother doesn't need to be so strict in her hijab. So it downgrades the hijab. So that is mustahab. What you're using there is an evasion, artifice. Yes? To allow you that to happen. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes? Which is mustahab. That evasion is mustahab. Mubah, using Sharia-compliant financial products for financing in order to avoid taking interest-based, that's permissible. It could even be mustahab if you're in this state of necessity. Makruh, paying zakat to a poor and also asking, now makruh, evasion, is like, for example, I'll give you an example. Yes? You say, for example, you are due to pay, you're a very wealthy man, you have to pay £2,000 zakat. So you go to the poor man and you say, look, I'm going to pay you this £2,000. Yes? But my brother has asked me for some money and he's a stingy guy. Yeah? And he says, what to do? I'll give you £2,000, but anyway, you're a poor person, £2,000 will be too much, isn't it? Out of that £500, give that as a hadiyah to my brother. Can he give hadiyah? He can give hadiyah, but why are you telling him to do it? It's makruh.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. So paying zakat to a poor man and also asking him to give a portion of it in gift to the payer's rich brother. And his brother is also rich. For God's sake. Why should you do that? For Allah's sake, you shouldn't be doing that. I should use the word Allah. Haram. Giving away one's wealth as gift in order to avoid paying zakah and reciprocating it to avoid paying zakah. I've already given that example. Okay? The kinds of juristic evasions that are permissible will be encouraged depending on the degree of their juristic strength. Now, a woman, if she comes to you and she says, look, Sheikh, this child will live with me and he will grow up or she will grow up with me. Can I give her, she's baby at the moment, can I, give her my milk so that I become milk mother? Yes? Yes? So obviously, and then it will downgrade this. Otherwise, we don't want to, at the age of 12, 13, we don't want to take her out. And, obviously, where will the child end up? Care home, isn't it? Isn't it? So rather than staying within the family environment, Muslim environment will end up in some other environment, or it will be taken by a non-Muslim family. Because law now allows anyone to look after. Yes. So it will be taken by so that is, and the non-Muslim family might not know the needs of that child, the spiritual needs of that child, and there is a risk of that child losing the faith identity, meaning it's the Islam. So what will the Mufti say? No, it's fine. You don't need to give the milk. No, he will say, no, must give. Yes? If the faith identity is at risk, then it wouldn't be mustahab, it would be wajib. Yes? Would be what? He would say it's wajib for you to give. Go and give that child the milk so that the child can stay with you. Is that making it clear to us? Yes? So it will be encouraged depending on the degree of juristic strength, while the ones that are prohibited will be discouraged. It is noteworthy to mention that legal artifices and stratagems that are attributed to the great early Hanafi jurists. Many people, what they say, oh, Hanafis. Oh, don't tell me about Hanafis. They are the masters of hiyal. Yes? Stratagems and artifices. Yeah? Hila? If you want to learn Hila, go to the Hanafis. Yes?
It's true. I need to learn.
No. We have to understand what is that. Yes? So, what does that mean? It's true. Yeah, it is. It is noteworthy to mention that the legal artifices and stratagems that are attributed to the great early Hanafi jurists, like Imam Abu Hanifa, some people they criticize, Imam Abu Hanifa, he's given many of the issues using hila and this and has allowed hila. But you have to understand what type of hila is. Yes? Yes, because there are two kinds. Didn't we mention that? Yes? So, it is noteworthy to mention that the legal artifices and stratagems, meaning the hiyal, that are attributed to the great early Hanafi jurists like Imam Abu Hanifa and his students Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn Hassan, are of those juristic kinds that are permissible. Yes? And that establish truth and repel falsehood. People out from them. Sheikh Abu Zahra. Did you see? He's a very English Sheikh Abu Zahra. Sheikh Abu Zahra says, فالحيلة في نظر هؤلاء المستشركين أمل يوافق في شكله ومظهره مطلب الشرع وهو في النتيجة احتيال على الخروج من سلطان الشرع وتفويت أحكامه. هذه نظرة أولئك العلماء الأوروبية إلى الحيلة، وهي تتفق إلى حد كبير مع الحيل التي ابتدع المتأخرون للتخلص من الأحكام الشرعية واتفاقها في ظاهر الأمر، ولكنها لا تنطبق مع الحيل المثورة عن أبي حنيفة وأصحاب الأولين، فإن حيلهم كانت للوصول إلى الحق أحيانا ولتتفق مع قيودهم التي قيدوا بها العقود، ولتتفق أحكامها مع المقاصد الشرعية التي لا تجافيها ولا تنأى عنها، وللتيسير على الناس ومن الحرج إذا ضيقوا على أنفسهم بأيمان أو إذا ضيقوا على أنفسهم بأيمان أقسموا. Yes, I'll read now. The employment of stratagem, according to these Orientalists, is that kind of operation which is in its form and manifestations, yes, is that kind of operation which they have given a view of the artifices that the Muslim scholars have used, but the way they've portrayed it, right? But in reality, what they have portrayed it as coming out, yes, as exiting, yes, from the divine law. But that's not the case. This is the viewpoint of these European scholars concerning legal evasion, right? This viewpoint aligns itself to a great extent with the artifices which the later scholars crafted to disengage and liberate oneself from the Islamic legal injunctions and to agree with it only in apparent terms. It must be remembered that this kind of artifices does not conform, yes, to the stratagems narrated from Imam Abu Hanifa and the early companions, yes, because their legal artifices, whose legal artifices? Of Imam Abu Hanifa and his companions, they were in most cases for the purposes of reaching truth, to align with the stipulations they placed for the transactions, to harmonize injunctions with the intents of Sharia, where the former do not abandon and distance from the latter, to facilitate the masses thereby and prevent difficulty on them when they felt tight and were in difficult situation due to the oaths that they have taken. Some people, they would take an oath, right, saying to their wife, if the moon is beautiful, yes, if the moon is beautiful, then you are divorced. Then they would go to school. People are stupid sometimes, when they are in too much love, they end up doing silliest of the thing, yeah. And one of them, as it comes about Imam Abu Hanifa, right? Somebody said that no, it was one of the ruler, isn't it? He said that by tomorrow Fajr time, if you do not exit my kingdom, yes, you're divorced, to his wife or something. By what? Tomorrow Fajr time, you don't exit the kingdom, or something like this. I'm just giving, yes. And I think it was taken to Imam Abu Hanifa, right? Yes? So Imam Abu Hanifa said, put her in the mosque and let her do itikaf until the sun rises, yeah? Put her in the mosque, because his kingdom is not in the mosque. That is what? وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. These scholars were very bright. He's not using stratagem there, right? He's using a legal reason. Do you understand? A legal evidence there, right? But it shows their brightness. But people would do silly things, so there the stratagems were used, right? I'll give you another example. Somebody said that about the clause. Where due to the oath they had taken and to orient the people towards the legal stipulations which they observe with the intention to preserve their rights and to protect them from uselessness. Hence, leveling any criticism to the Hanafi scholars in their employment of stratagems is baseless, yes, as they only crafted those kinds of artifices that are permitted in Islamic law. In fact, not only permitted, but those which are even wajib, yes. It is worth mentioning that not only some of the later Hanafi scholars trespass. You know, if we are leveling criticism to the later scholars, yes, to the latter scholars, then we should not only level the criticism only to the Hanafi scholars, we should also level the criticism to the other schools of thought, because they also were doing the same thing. Okay? Yes. That not only some of the later Hanafi trespass the limits in the employment of the stratagems, meaning even allowing the prohibited stratagem, the later scholars of other schools of law are equally guilty of the same act. They are guilty of the same act or crime. The golden rule has already been given above. You know the golden rule, where the stratagem can be employed and when it cannot be employed. Unfortunately, the school that seeks laxity, now we are going back to the school of Fatwā. We're going back to what? To the school of Ifta that seeks laxity, trespasses the limits, yes, and parameters in issuing Fatwā. They also, even the prohibited stratagems, because some stratagems are prohibited, they allow them, yes. Which school? Of over facilitation, hampering thereby the balanced approach in Ifta. Yes, conclusively, if a mufti understands these extreme areas and reasons for either austerity or obsessive focus on excessive facilitation, Allah willing, he will be able to maintain a balanced approach in issuing his fatwa. Is that clear?
Inshallah.
You have to read that about here, because you're writing on it or something, or doing some research on it, yeah?
Not yet, inshallah.
Yes, but you've got I've given you a very big treasure there. And feel free to use me in your reference.